I suppose there's a time when any man, even a man like me, can find something bigger than himself.
Want to know the actors who faced career setbacks? From tragic accidents to lingering scandals, here are 10 Golden Age actors who ruined their careers in seconds. Number 10. Mae Murray. Born Marie Adrienne Koenig on May 10, 1885, Mae Murray was a popular American silent film star. She wasn't just an accomplished actress, she was an enchanting dancer, film producer, and screenwriter. Sadly, her career declined. Many blamed it on the advent of sound and her refusal to adapt to the new technology. But as you are about to see, she fell prey to something much more likely. Before the unfortunate decline in her career, Murray gained prominence during the silent film era. She embodied trend-setting qualities and served as an inspiration for aspiring strong women. We mean idols like Joan Crawford admitted how they revered and were influenced by her. So great was her influence that she earned nicknames such as the girl with the bee-stung lips and the gardenia of the screen. But as popular and well-loved as she was, her story remains an enigma to date. One thing about Murray, her ability to conceal her humble origins from the Lower East Side of New York has been hailed as unparalleled. There have been numerous fabricated tales about her birth and upbringing, circulating in fan magazines for decades. That said, she meticulously erased any traces of her past and made sure to leave no discernible paper trail behind. So while numerous established writers have attempted to tackle her biography, they often find themselves in a futile struggle that ultimately ends in throwing their arms up in frustrated defeat. In spite of this scarcity of factual material, one thing that could be determined is how and why her career began to decline. Word on the street is that Murray could not or simply did not want to tap into the new wave of sound in cinema. Turns out this is more of a myth than fact. The reality is far more complex. Talkies did not directly lead to her downfall. In fact, she demonstrated some level of competence in a few she appeared in. So what did the trick? Turns out Murray proved to be her own worst adversary. Like many stars at the peak of their career, she got ensnared by a fantasy world of her own creation. Murray often boldly proclaimed herself as the biggest star at MGM. To be fair, that claim may have held some truth to it. However, it was Murray who made the decision to depart from Metro in pursuit of a life as a pseudo-princess. She married one of the infamous Midvanis, a family that has been linked to the original Kardashians. Like other silent film goddesses such as Gloria Swanson and Paula Negri, Murray succumbed to the allure of a counterfeit prince. Apparently, it was the desire to prolong her fantasy experience that led her to marry David Midvani. Unfortunately, her prince, in quote, swiftly relieved her of her finances and sanity. Unfortunately, she walked out of MGM despite the echoing warning of Louis B. Mayer that doing so meant career suicide. But her being blacklisted was one thing. Some accounts strongly suggest that she had a difficult reputation as well. It is said that she made life difficult for everyone who worked with her and for her. She talked down on anyone, including her family and a steady dwindling number of friends. Next, one of the many actors who dared to go head-to-head with the powerful Louis B. Mayer.
Well, you have a nerve. Coming and sitting in my room without so much as an if you please, or a by your leave, or a... You smell of onions. Pew.
Number 9. John Gilbert. Legend has it that following the death of Rudolph Valentino, Gilbert ascended to the coveted position of the silver screen's leading man. In truth, John Gilbert embodied the epitome of male glamour during the 1920s. He was born on July 10, 1897, into a family with some modest ties to acting. Determined to make a name for himself, he began his cinematic journey in 1916 as an extra at Innsville, the esteemed Los Angeles studio under the guidance of film pioneer Thomas Ince. Over the course of 8 years, Gilbert honed his craft across various studios, both in front of and behind the camera. While he initially found his footing as a writer at Peralta Studios, he later transitioned to a production assistant under director Maurice Tourneur. By 1921, Gilbert had established himself as a feature player at Fox Film Corporation. But he ultimately ascended to stardom after signing with the newly established MGM in 1924. His daughter, Latrice Gilbert Fountain, differs significantly. Through extensive interviews with industry professionals, directors, writers, cinematographers, actors, and actresses, she unveils a distinct portrayal of John Gilbert. Not merely a romantic icon, but also one of the most pioneering and esteemed stars of his time. As the leading figure at MGM during its inception, Gilbert delivered a string of successes, including He Who Gets Slapped, The Merry Widow, and The Big Parade, which garnered both critical acclaim and commercial triumph. Box office records were continuously shattered with films like Flesh and the Devil, Love, and A Woman of Affairs, all of which Gilbert starred alongside Greta Garbo. You could say it helped that they shared an off-screen romance. While John Gilbert is often commemorated for his passionate love scenes alongside Greta Garbo, his declined career and tragic demise seems to have overshadowed his legacy in the era of talkies. To begin with, there are numerous theories that circulated regarding Gilbert's struggle to transition to sound films. Early reports suggest that his voice was high-pitched or effeminate. If this was true, then it would certainly have clashed with his bold persona as the quintessential romantic lead. However, his vocal performances in films like Queen Christina in 1933 contradict this narrative. So how did Gilbert ruin his career? Well, contrary to popular belief, Gilbert's decline in Hollywood was not due to his light baritone voice, but rather stemmed from the vehement animosity of Louis B. Mayer, the autocratic head of MGM. As the story goes, Gilbert and Mayer frequently clashed over artistic and personal differences. One account centers on an incident when Gilbert's intended marriage to Garbo failed to materialize. The bride had reportedly not shown up to the ceremony. To make things worse, Mayer was said to have given the callous response, "Why marry her when you can sleep with her?" Insulting, right? Well, Gilbert allegedly thought so. And it resulted in a physical altercation that further fueled their enmity. In his quest for revenge, Mayer resolved to undermine the career of MGM's leading star. It is also rumored that Mayer sabotaged Gilbert's voice recordings in retaliation. Aside from tampering with the soundtracks of Gilbert's early talkies to distort his voice, he also relegated Gilbert to subpar films and spread rumors about his alcoholism and unreliability in acting. Now, let's see how the original Hollywood it girl possibly ruined her career. Number 8. Clara Bow. By the mid-1920s, Clara Bow was the most famous actress in Hollywood. In 1928 alone, she received over 30,000 fan letters in the month of May. But amidst quite a bit of scandal in 1933, she would leave Hollywood forever for the quietest domestic life with her new husband in the desert town of Searchlight, Nevada. She never did return to the screen after that. The first obstacle, the fact that she had long been typecast. Bow was often typecast as the quintessential flapper character. True to the it girl title she came to assume, she had the aura and sexual appeal that the screen needed. Unfortunately, it became less popular. As Hollywood moved away from silent films and embraced sound, the audience preferences changed as well. The audience demanded more sophisticated and nuanced roles. As the story goes, Bow may have struggled to transition her image to fit the changing landscape of cinema. But somehow, this was far from the final blow. She also had her fair share of personal struggles and scandals. Bow's personal life was tumultuous, from scandals surrounding her relationships and lifestyle to allegations of affairs and the poor upbringing she tried to shy away from. The it girl was always in the news. Then came the studio conflicts and contract disputes. Bow reportedly experienced conflicts with studio executives and faced contract disputes. Now, all of this may have hindered her ability to choose roles and exercise creative control over her career. These conflicts often led to periods of inactivity and uncertainty about her future in the industry. With the mounting pressure and demands from the film industry, it's not hard to imagine that she couldn't work consistently or maintain her career momentum. Who knows? It may have taken a toll on her physical and emotional well-being. In time, she retired and withdrew from the spotlight. Notably, it would be wrong not to mention the advent of the Hays Code. The Hays Code was created to better control what people saw on screen. Remember the undeniable sex appeal that Bow was known for at the peak of her career? Yeah, that could not shine through anymore as it limited the risque content she was known for. Ultimately, Bow chose to retire from acting at a relatively young age. She withdrew from the spotlight and sought refuge from the pressures of fame. While she made the occasional film appearances later in her life, her decision to step away from Hollywood limited her opportunities to revive her career. Up next is the actor responsible for the lifelong feud between Joan Crawford and Bette Davis.
I I know you're not supposed to smoke Cuban cigars, but these will help to calm you down.
Number 7. Franchot Tone. Tone was not the kind who always wanted to be an actor, as he had only discovered his love for the stage at some point while attending Cornell University. The American actor initially seemed destined for a career in his family electrochemical business. He hailed from a privileged background in upstate New York. He received a private education and embarked on extensive travels before finally making it to Cornell for his higher education. However, his chance involvement in the drama club altered the course of his career and ignited his passion for the stage. Following his graduation, Franchot did not immediately follow his passion. He embarked on a humble journey, joining a stock company in Buffalo and earning a modest $15 weekly wage during the mid-1920s. But by 1929, he could see the light. That year, through diligent study and unwavering dedication to his craft, he made his Broadway debut in The Age of Innocence. He also garnered prominent roles in productions like Green Grow the Lilacs, which was later adapted into the musicals Oklahoma and Big Night. However, it was his standout performance in Success Story in 1931 that captured the attention of Hollywood producers. Once offered a contract by MGM, he relocated to Hollywood by the year's end in 1932. Making his debut on the silver screen in The Wiser Sex in 1932 opposite Claudette Colbert. He quickly followed up with Today We Live in 1933, co-starring along MGM luminary Joan Crawford. She was fresh from her divorce from Douglas Fairbanks Jr., so their on-screen chemistry sparked a series of romance rumors. This prompted MGM to capitalize on their connection by casting them together in numerous films throughout the 1930s. In 1935, Franchot was loaned out to Warner Brothers to star alongside Bette Davis in Dangerous. This was when things really began to get messy for him. You see, despite Betty's affection for her leading man, Franchot Tone remained committed to his engagement with Joan Crawford. This led to a feud between both women, which is said to have lasted for the rest of their lives. In the meantime, Crawford and Tone tied the knot in 1935. However, their blissful marriage was short-lived. It is believed that there were domestic tensions between the two as rumors circulated that Franchot's steady career contrasted with Joan's continued rise to stardom. The press often dubbed him Mr. Joan Crawford, a constant testament to his secondary status in the public eye compared to his iconic wife. You can already see how this would lead to jealousy and resentment, right? Surely playing second fiddle to the incomparable Joan Crawford was no easy feat for anyone. Following his divorce from Joan in 1935, Franchot Tone continued to appear in several films throughout the 1940s. Then it really began. Tired of his time at MGM, he often lent his talents to other studios. This was no doubt a form of retaliation against MGM for their refusal to release him from his contractual obligations. In 1941, he tied the knot with his co-star actress Jean Wallace, with whom he welcomed 2 sons before their divorce in 1948. By 1951, the drama started again. Franchot found himself embroiled in a scandal that tarnished his reputation and cast a shadow over his acting career. It all started with another actress, Barbara Payton. Despite warnings from friends and even his ex-wife Joan Crawford, Tone became entangled with Barbara Payton. The one-time actress turned prostitute was known for her tumultuous personal life. He knew this, but he still went ahead and got wrapped up in her web. By the time he began to suspect Payton of infidelity, he had hired a private investigator to tail her. Upon discovering Payton's liaison with actor Tom Neal, Tone confronted the pair in the midst of their rendezvous. This resulted in a violent altercation. Neal had a background in boxing, so he easily left Tone with serious injuries, including a broken cheekbone and nose, all of which necessitated plastic surgery and a week-long hospital stay. Imagine Tone forgiving this incident and marrying her, only for Barbara to reportedly leave him for a life of prostitution and drug use that claimed her life shortly after. Considering all of this, do you think it was worth risking his life and career for? Next is another star who always dared to do what he wanted. Number 6. Errol Flynn. Renowned for his roles in iconic Hollywood classics such as The Adventures of Robin Hood and Captain Blood, Errol Flynn emerged as one of the era's most beloved film stars. Errol Flynn was a natural entertainer and born movie star. Born in Hobart, Australia in 1909, Flynn was the son of a prominent marine biologist. It wasn't much, but it gave him access to the most prestigious schools. Despite this privilege, he got himself expelled from every institution he attended. The rumors were acts of misconduct, like alleged dalliances with a staff's daughter and accusations of bullying and theft. A foreshadowing of his tumultuous career to come, wouldn't you say? With his formal education thwarted, Flynn embarked on a variety of odd jobs. At some point, he enlisted for World War II. However, he received a deferment due to his fragile heart, which had been compounded by recurrent battles with malaria and tuberculosis. Many have speculated that grappling with feelings of inadequacy for not serving in the war is the reason why he seemingly compensated for it with his daring and often reckless lifestyle. Eventually, he made his way to England. There he launched his acting career. In time, he achieved global fame during Hollywood's golden age. Exuding a rare on-screen charm, he possessed a magnetism that few could rival. Bursting onto the Hollywood scene in 1935 with Captain Blood, Flynn swiftly ascended to stardom by delivering his most memorable performances in the ensuing years. An even more significant aspect of his allure lay in his rebellious persona, with his frequent clashes at Warner Brothers becoming the stuff of legend, particularly his disputes with director Michael Curtiz and studio head Jack Warner. Flynn's on-screen charisma and magnetism mirrored his real-life persona in a way. He was renowned for his gallant and dashing demeanor on screen, and this undoubtedly contributed to his romantic conquests in real life. Sadly, he indulged in excessive drinking and smoking, and despite having 4 marriages, he still engaged in numerous extramarital affairs. As you can already tell, Flynn's reputation was not just built on his daring on-screen persona, but also on his notorious lifestyle, one that was characterized by a hedonistic pursuit of pleasure. In his autobiography, Flynn expressed disdain for the public's perception of him, including popular phrases like "in like Flynn," as he believed himself to be more multifaceted than merely a party animal. Still, according to his own admission, he had claimed to have been intimate with 10,000 women throughout his lifetime. By 1942, it would all culminate in his indictment for rape. He vehemently contested the rape accusations. Lucky for him, he successfully proved his innocence in court when the primary witness clarified during testimony that he was not actually guilty. As for his excessive consumption of alcohol, drugs, and involvement in brawls, it prematurely aged him. One sad thing, though, despite his legal victory in the rape case, the public perception of viewing him as a wild and adventurous figure persisted. Try as he might, everyone preferred to think of him as a reflection of the swashbuckling heroes he portrayed on screen. Next, a star who quickly lost his status as one of Hollywood's highest earners. Number 5. Fatty Arbuckle. Roscoe Conkling Arbuckle, better known as Fatty Arbuckle, was an American silent film actor, screenwriter, and director. Born on March 24, 1887, Fatty would rise to the top echelon of old Hollywood. He is renowned as one of the most popular silent stars of the 1910s and also one of the highest paid actors. We mean he signed a contract with Paramount Pictures for $1 million a year in 1920. That would be a little over $15 million today. He was just that popular and influential. Sadly, all of this success would come to a halt when he got entangled in a scandalous murder trial. It all began on Labor Day in 1921. There was a lavish party teeming with distinguished guests, alcohol, and music. Yet the festivities took a grim turn just hours into the evening. This dark turn still leaves a cloud of uncertainty lingering to this day. Notably, this is considered to be Hollywood's first big scandal, so you can imagine the flurry of rumors and conjecture. And at the center of it all was Fatty Arbuckle, the revered Hollywood star renowned for his comedic prowess and immense popularity. Also at the center of this scandal was the talented actress Virginia Rappe. On that fateful Labor Day, he found himself in the company of Virginia Rappe. By his own account, Virginia had already been complaining of fatigue and how she needed to rest. Fatty would also recount how he escorted her upstairs to a hotel room to rest and recover. No one knows for sure what happened next, but several hours later, a piercing scream echoed through the air. This, of course, prompted bystanders to rush to the room. When they did, they found Virginia lying motionless on the floor. Chaos ensued as speculation swirled that Fatty had made unwanted advances towards her. The rumor was that she had resisted these advances and by doing so had sealed her fate. Virginia's final words were reportedly, "He did this to me," and this only fueled the flames of the rumors. However, Fatty maintains he was in the bathroom at the time of the incident. His account did not matter, though, as the case was propelled to trial. Despite the absence of signs of physical coercion and the fact that she was fully clothed when discovered, 3 lengthy trials ensued. Ultimately, Fatty was acquitted, but the damage to his career was irreversible. Just like that, his career began and continued to plummet following the events of that fateful Labor Day party in 1921. While his entire life changed in a matter of seconds, the lingering question persists: was he truly culpable or a victim of circumstance? The truth remains elusive. What was not elusive, though, is the eventual admission of guilt by the FBI against this actress.
Disais hier soir dans la voiture, tu pouvais pas te passer de moi. Tu peux très bien. Romeo pouvait pas se passer de Juliette, mais toi, tu peux.
Number 4. Jean Seberg. Seberg was an American actress who is still considered an icon of the French New Wave for her role in the 1960 film Breathless. Notably, her Hollywood career during the post-war era was marked by peculiarities and contradictions, making her one of the most enigmatic figures of her time. But this one proved to be quite a tragic tale. During the spring of 1970, the FBI was actively targeting radical movements in the United States. It was all spearheaded by its controversial director J. Edgar Hoover. As the story goes, Hoover had long been dedicated to undermining the anti-war movements, as well as the activities of civil rights leaders and black militant organizations. Among these groups was the Black Panther Party, known for its revolutionary stance against police brutality and white authority, advocating for armed self-defense. Seberg was among the Hollywood supporters of the Panthers that the FBI had their eyes on. She had donated over $10,000 to their cause and was possibly involved in a romantic relationship with one of its members. Internally, the Bureau labeled her as a promiscuous and sex-perverted white actress. In 1970, the FBI fabricated a damaging rumor alleging that Seberg was pregnant by a member of the Black Panther Party. The Bureau viewed Seberg as a participant in radical politics who had financially supported the Black Panthers, making her a target for their smear campaign. The aim was to tarnish her reputation and diminish her standing with the American public. Unfortunately, their scheme succeeded, as some gossip columnists uncritically pursued the false leads provided by the FBI. It was a senior editor at the Los Angeles Times who unwittingly became complicit in the dissemination of this harmful gossip. Without verifying the information, the Times published the story, contributing to the unraveling of the life of a renowned young actress. She spiraled into a long-term depression that led directly to her suicide on a Paris street a decade later. If you made it this far, do hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates from us. Next up, let's see why this actor is said to have had the longest suicide in Hollywood history.
Well, I am.
Look, am I just gonna be at the Calico Inn later? Ain't there no way you can get out of here?
Number 3. Montgomery Clift. It goes without saying that a huge part of Montgomery Clift's career, like that of many attractive actors, relied heavily on his appearance. The 4-time Academy Award nominee was known for his perfect portrayals of sensitive young men. Just like Marlon Brando and James Dean, Clift was considered one of the original method actors. Sadly, his enviable career was ultimately cut short by a terrible tragedy. While returning home from a party hosted by co-star and close friend Elizabeth Taylor, Clift was involved in a near-fatal accident. The accident left Clift not only disfigured, but also with 2 front teeth lodged in his throat, risking suffocation. One tooth reportedly pierced his tongue, while his nose and jaw were both broken. As the story goes, it was Taylor who rushed to the scene and squeezed into the car that saved his life. He had reportedly been choked by a tooth that had gone down his throat. Considering the technology at the time, the surgeons did an admirable job on his face. Still, it was impossible to ignore the noticeable scarring that remained. Additionally, the left side of his face was left largely paralyzed. As such, filmmakers had to shoot him from the opposite side whenever possible in his post-accident films. In essence, his career as a romantic lead, which had been his primary focus up to that point, was effectively derailed. This would be a difficult realization for any actor to accept. We mean even stars who naturally transition out of such roles due to aging have a hard time at it. So imagine the added emotional burden of grappling with the aftermath of a truly horrific car accident. To make matters worse, his friends had to shield him from the prying eyes of the press, who had arrived on scene even before the ambulance. Enduring such a traumatic experience and remaining unaffected by the toll it takes on their psyche is almost impossible. That said, the accident essentially triggered what Robert Lewis famously referred to as the longest suicide in Hollywood history. Clift's pre-existing alcoholism was only exacerbated by the accident. Top that off with a newfound reliance on various painkillers, then you can see the makings of a destructive cycle. As his condition worsened, fewer people were willing to associate with him, leaving only a small group of friends who remained loyal until the end. Montgomery Clift's story stands as one of the greatest tragedies of that era in Hollywood, with his ultimate downfall seeming inevitable from the moment of the crash. Next is probably the most underrated woman from the golden age of Hollywood. Number 2. Hedy Lamarr. Born in Vienna, Austria on November 9, 1914, Hedy Lamarr is often hailed by critics and fans alike as the most stunning presence ever to grace the silver screen. She had a decent childhood, and in time, she realized she was mesmerized by the allure of cinema. In time, she became a protege of theater director Max Reinhardt in Berlin. Her very first project was a minor role in the 1930 German production Geld auf der Straße. This was followed by appearances in 3 more German films in 1931. However, it was her 5th film, the 1932 Czech production Ecstasy, that thrust her into global prominence. In this daring film, she dared to appear nude. This, of course, sparked international sensation and was even banned by the US government at the time. But that was just the beginning. Hedy embarked on a string of exotic adventure films. By the time she made her American debut in Algiers as Gabby, she was already a sensation. With her mesmerizing green eyes, jet black hair, luscious lips, and poised smile, it is unsurprising that she reigned as the epitome of beauty. Her magnetic allure attracted the attention of Hollywood producers throughout the 1930s and 1940s. Sadly, she was quite an underestimated woman. Well, it must be nice to be known as the most beautiful woman in the world, but it came at a great cost. Not a lot of people knew, let alone recognized her as an inventor. However, she faced several challenges throughout her career that impacted her trajectory. The most obvious was the inevitable typecasting. She was often cast in roles that emphasized her beauty rather than her acting abilities. Despite her desire to take on more challenging and diverse roles, she was often confined to the glamorous and seductive characters. You can see how this hindered her ability to showcase her full range as an actress. Then, of course, there are the personal struggles and legal issues. Lamarr's personal life was marked by tumultuous relationships, including multiple marriages and divorces. Some of these garnered negative publicity that may have affected her reputation in Hollywood. Eventually, she retired from acting and lived a more reclusive life. While her work may not have been recognized initially, she persevered and continued to forge her path in science. Today, we not only remember her as a beautiful actress, but also as the mother of Wi-Fi.
I thought I'd met all the officers on board, but I don't seem to remember you.
Will you remember me now?
Well, of course it might.
Number 1. Jeannette MacDonald. Jeannette MacDonald was a gorgeous American singer and actress who found herself at the center of a tragic Hollywood love triangle. Set against the backdrop of Hollywood's golden age, where the studio system reigned supreme, Louis B. Mayer was the formidable head of MGM. As such, he wielded unparalleled power to dictate the fortunes of stars. 2 of his casualties included stars like Nelson Eddy and Jeannette MacDonald. Jeannette and Eddy were both talented performers who frequently shared the screen in the studio's beloved musicals. While their on-screen chemistry dazzled audiences, their off-screen romance also blossomed into a profound love affair. However, Mayer viewed their relationship as a threat to their careers. He feared that it would overshadow their individual stardom. By the summer of 1935, their fates would change. As the story goes, Jeannette got pregnant with Eddy's child that summer. This pregnancy unleashed a scandal of seismic proportions. Mayer resolved to take drastic action to preserve the studio's image and marketability. He forced Jeannette into having an abortion. He wielded his power by threatening to blacklist both her and Eddy. Still capitalizing on his power, Mayer went on to intensify her workload with additional movie contracts. If the rumors are to be believed, then Mayer's relentless obsession with keeping the couple apart seemingly knew no bounds. Sadly, it must have taken a toll on her career. Do you think any of these actors stood a chance? Do share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. You also can't miss the next video on your screen.